Hello, welcome to the channel that's normally the Positive Masculinity Podcast. Today we're going to do special new test item. We're going to do a political podcast on is the conflict in Israel Palestine. I have with me three guests. One of them is not on video. With me is Olivia Hanna, Noah Diamond, and our friend Oliver, who is not on video. And yeah, so getting in, we're going to spend about 20 to 25 minutes on every topic. Everyone's going to get 2 minutes of intro, 2 minutes of outro. Just as a quick aside, we are using the ICC, the International Criminal Court definitions of crimes. So just in case you're at home and you're wondering like, I think it's this or I think it's that, we don't want to make this a 25-minute argument about the definitions of words. If something's bad, you can just describe it as being bad. So just to not argue about definitions, that's what we're using. And then so going forward, we're going to go into our first topic. I need to pull it up. Super professional of me to not have it pulled up. And then so our first topic on Israel Palestine is, how do you think Israel should resolve the issue? We're going to spend about 25 minutes. Everyone is going to get a maximum of a 2-minute intro. We're going to start with Oliver, then we're going to go Noah, then we're going to go Olivia. Okay?
Noah, would you like to go first?
If you prefer me to go first, I will take it.
I would.
Okay. Sam says he'll go first. No. All right. Well, topic. What should Israel do to resolve the conflict? Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Obviously, it's a complicated conflict. I don't think there's one thing anyone can do to solve it, but I think is everything okay?
But me? Yeah, I'm on my phone. Somebody asked me to do something.
Oh, I'm hearing a lot of buzzing. Is everyone else hearing that? No? Okay. Well, I will try to ignore the buzzing. But I think the large responsibility is on Hamas to stand down from their terrorist actions. Israel, I think, has done a lot of wrong, but at the end of the day, a certain amount of terrorism cannot be tolerated, and Israel will have to retaliate. And I think it's unreasonable for people to expect them not to. And we can talk more in the back and forth, because I don't know what points everyone's going to make, but that's generally where I stand. That it's going to take the Hamas side standing down for there to be any sort of resolution.
Now it's Oliver's turn.
Oh man. All right. I don't even know where to begin. In the short run, there are so many different theories on what should happen with regards to the war. Some people say ceasefire. Some people say Hamas must be completely, their power structure must be removed and replaced. I have my own opinions on that, but in all honesty, I don't even think that's I don't think, how do I put this? I don't think I'm exactly an authoritative figure to say what should happen there. What I will say is that while Hamas has consistently, their actions have consistently undermined peace, Israel has not been a good partner towards peace either, and in fact has done many things that have unilaterally done the exact opposite historically. I see the relationship between Israel and Hamas as kind of a vicious cycle where they each drag each other to the conclusion that it's a zero-sum game and that only one, either Palestine or Israel, can win at the end of this. I completely reject that sentiment It's clear to me that Israeli security will only be achieved if Palestine is also a state, and it's clear to me that, or I don't want to say it's clear to me, but it seems unlikely to me that Palestine will be a state under Hamas. I guess that's all I really want to say now. And also, from a moral standpoint, Palestine absolutely has the right to exist and should exist as a state in Gaza and the West Bank. And I think that's an inalienable right. All right, next.
Okay, Olivia?
Well, obviously, I believe we should free Palestine. And I don't think it's controversial to say that Palestine should be free from the river to the sea. I think that the best thing Israel could probably do to resolve this conflict is to release their hostages, stop committing war crimes against civilian populations, cease collective punishment, essentially. And I truly think that the conflict is simple to understand, but I do agree that the solution is incredibly complex to find. And I guess that's why I'm here, because I want to find a realistic solution to this conflict that we could successfully call for and accomplish. I think it's silly to focus on Hamas when it's been acknowledged the world over that Israel is the oppressive party. Israel is occupying Palestine. I think that the best way to resolve this is for Israel to accept its hand in breaking the peace. Because I think this didn't start on October 7th. And Israel acknowledging that and the rest of the world acknowledging that would be an incredible step to actually finding a solution. That's all I have for now.
Okay, let's get into it, guys. Argue.
Okay, well, I'll attack one of your bullet points of like what needs to happen for there to be peace. I mean, you said Israel should release all of the hostages that they have of Palestinians, but during the last ceasefire, Israel and Hamas were releasing hostages. Israel was releasing far more hostages than Hamas was, and Israel was releasing Hamas militants that Hamas demanded for Israeli women and children, and eventually Hamas said, no more. We're not releasing any more, even though you've released way more. And that ended the ceasefire. I mean, it seems like Israel is more than willing to release hostages, but Hamas is not. So you say don't focus on Hamas, but they are the power in Gaza. They run Gaza, and if there's going to be peace, they have to play their role. They can't just say, well, Israel has more power than us, so we can rape all their women, fire rockets at them for 15 years.
So I would like you to stick to verifiable facts, because I have actually extensively researched the whole raping their women, beheading their babies thing, and unless you can actually give me names and hard evidence, I would rather stick to the facts.
It's an absolute fact that they raped women.
I'm going to stop both of you real quick. Let's try to focus on what Israel can do. We will have 25 minutes to talk about about like Hamas. I understand
Israel can provide proof of the crimes that we are saying they're committing. I think that that's very on topic. You know, we're 77 days in. That is more than enough time for all of their respective government services to figure out what happened, count their dead. The people should have examined dead bodies for evidence of rape. That was not done. I'm just saying we should stick to facts, and Israel should provide facts.
I mean, it was done. They have done investigations. The Hamas has posted videos of women bleeding from everywhere. I mean, Hamas is not hiding this. Hamas paraded these women around, spitting on them, and they posted the videos. So, I mean, yeah, you could say Israel needs to provide more evidence, fine. But it's more than clear that this was happening. And would it change anything if it was or wasn't? I don't know.
Okay, so I will attack that point because, respectfully, the bar of evidence is higher for the state of Israel. Okay, they are a state. They want to act like one. They should be able to give real, proper evidence. I've seen the GoPro videos, okay, and I have been desperately looking for media from Israel to corroborate it, and I don't see any. I don't see any that gives me actual hard facts or names. All I see are reports coming out that the bodies were not, there was no evidence of rape collected from the bodies. They didn't even bother to look. So if you want to say that there was a systematic policy Hamas instituted of rape and of beheading, then there needs to be a higher bar for your proof, for your evidence than that. You know, I am not saying no one got raped. Okay, that would be ridiculous. What I am saying is that if you're saying that this is the way that the attack was planned and that this was a policy that they were doing, there needs to be hard evidence of that. Because otherwise we're just falling for propaganda.
I'll go, and then you can either respond or I'll invite Oliver to jump in. But I don't think there's anything propagandistic about accepting the fact that this absolutely happened. It's undeniable. You can hide your head in the sand all you want. It absolutely happened. I don't know if there was an order to do it. I haven't suggested that. But when the attack happened, people were slaughtered in their homes, raped, children were burned in ovens, kibbutzim, just a bunch of commies who pretty much hate Israel. That's why they live right by the border.
Do you mind sending me the proof of the children burned in ovens? Because as far as I can tell, that is very much propaganda and is actually something that the IDF has done to Palestinians. And so it's a little bit insidious that you are now using this as an accusation. Give me the name of the person burned, because I can absolutely give you a video of an IDF soldier saying they threw a man's child into the oven and made him watch, and then threw him in right after.
Fair. We can exchange that evidence. Sounds horrible that happened. I can tell you it's definitely true, but yeah, I'm happy to exchange evidence, and I'm happy, Davin, if he wants to have us back and we can bring videos and look at those, I'm happy to do that.
Something tells me I won't be able to show the videos, but I can show the documents or the reactions. I'm just as a heads up to everyone at home. Probably won't be able to show those on YouTube if they're like actually true proof, right?
Fair enough.
I've had too much propaganda of 40 beheaded babies spouted by too many people that should be, people we trust. Biden repeating these type of lies and still not having hard evidence easily found in the media. Like, I take issue with that. So I do agree that, like, if you want to talk about these points, you should come back with evidence.
Yeah, there was never any evidence for the beheaded babies, and Israel was clear about that the whole time. They always denied it. But I don't know why Western media ran with that. But
not even Western media. Joe Biden ran with that almost as soon as it came out, and like here in America, like we have a responsibility to ask why that is. The burden of proof be far higher than that. Which is why I'm saying, like, I can't accept the stories coming out of Israel without hard proof, especially with all of the cycle of lies and propaganda that have also been coming out.
Okay,
and the same with Hamas.
Let's let Oliver in. He was going to start speaking.
Oh, you're good. I was just going to say, it seems like we've all seen the body cam footage. I think that we can all agree that the attack was brutal. Yeah, there were definitely a lot of propagandistic lies that were just spread on both sides, honestly, at the beginning of this conflict. I remember hearing just absolute bullshit from a lot of my very, pro-Palestine friends and acquaintances, and also just, 40 beheaded babies, burned alive. from a lot of my Jewish and Israeli friends. So I think we can all agree that there's been a large amount of disinformation circulated, especially around social media, but that nonetheless, the October 7th was a brutal massacre.
Agreed. Which is why I think, if Israel wants to solve this conflict, try targeting the misinformation. I see Israel actually actively contributing to this misinformation campaign. And if we were really trying to find a solution, Israel would be trying to bring evidence to the table, not propaganda, not thirst traps, and not TikToks of IDF soldiers dancing. I just want evidence.
Okay, well, every single military on planet Earth does TikTok videos. That's not just an Israel thing. I think it's weird to point that out specifically.
Wait, did you guys see the TikTok videos of the Taliban soldiers roller skating? Did you guys see that?
No.
Okay, sorry, non sequitur.
Sure, Noah.
But
I can accept that you take offense to me pointing out the TikToks of them dancing. That's the lightest example. I have videos coming across my feeds of IDF soldiers knocking on the door of a Palestinian home, and then zooming out, you can see that it's entirely rubble, and there's obviously no one home, and they're just mocking the situation. I'm just saying, if you want to solve the conflict, maybe don't let your soldiers do that.
I agree. I think that kind of behavior is unacceptable. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be mocking the pain and suffering of other people. And so, yeah, I mean, any individual who engages in that kind of behavior should be punished, I think, and it should not be tolerated. But I don't think that is the main cause of the conflict, is people posting TikTok videos. And this accusation that Israel has not done anything to bring evidence and it's just propaganda. I mean, sure, they've done plenty of propaganda. Every single military has done propaganda. But they have also just released tons of raw footage of what happened. This raw footage of the October massacre, and it's it's just wild to me that people are still denying some of the shit that happened.
I agree.
Yes, like the beheaded babies. There's no evidence for that. Israel was the first to acknowledge that. To anyone who pushed that is an idiot. I agree with you. But plenty of horrible things happened, including tons of rapes, and it's that is for anyone who thinks Hamas are freedom fighters. I mean, their goal is to kill as many Jews as possible. Videos from October 7th show Hamas fighters calling their parents from slain Israelis just to celebrate with their family that they killed 10 Jews. And
Noah,
killing Jews, raping Jewish women
this is Noah.
is their goal.
Noah, this is on topic for the next topic, probably.
What is the current topic again?
What can Israel better do to resolve the conflict?
Okay, can we stop talking about October 7th in that case? Because listen, I think we all accept the general conclusion of what October 7th was. I don't think anyone here is crazy enough to deny the overall picture of it. What do you guys think Israel can do to solve the conflict?
I think Israel should stop dehumanizing Palestinians. I think there's a long history of dehumanization of the Palestinian people. It was kind of a prerequisite to where we are now. I bring up the TikToks of the IDF soldiers not because, soldiers don't deserve to have fun and joke around, but because there are very clear examples of the effects of dehumanization. They call them savages. They refer to them as animals. They have their children writing hate messages on the missiles they are dropping on Gaza. I think if Israel wants to solve this conflict, I think they should start acknowledging Palestinians are human beings. And I think, obviously, that includes stopping, the collective punishment that they have subjected on the people of Palestine, because that's never going to be a solution. If you claim you want to eradicate Hamas, that's not the solution. I don't think it's controversial to say that this is very obviously going to create more Hamas or more groups like them, because you can't kill the idea of resistance and you can't kill the need to escape from oppression.
Oliver, you got anything, or you want me to jump in?
Yeah, you can jump in. I had something and then I just blanked out. I'm sorry, I'm a little under the weather right now.
I guess the points I was making before, I mean, it goes back to my main argument that at the end of the day, it is Hamas has to be the one to come to the table, offering to stop the terrorism for Israel to be able to move forward with peace. I think things Israel can do is support another version of the Oslo Accords, a way to a two-state solution. Things Israel has supported in the past, I think they should push for that again. I don't think Netanyahu will, but a new regime might. But at the end of the day, Hamas, just like with the Oslo Accords, has opposed any form of peace whatsoever. And so that's why I'm saying, Hamas needs to come to the table for anything Israel might possibly consider doing to be able to have any effect.
Okay.
Do you think the Oslo Accords were a fair
Hold on.
two-state solution for the Palestinians?
Oh man, I want to say no, absolutely not. Also, they weren't a two-state solution in theory. They were an interim solution that was a possibly convenient plan for apartheid if negotiations broke down, which they did. Post 2000 Camp David summit, obviously.
Well said.
Well, what's your Oliver? What's your opposition to the Oslo Accord specifically? Like, not just if they broke down, but say it went perfectly. What's your opposition to it?
Well, it wasn't actually the Oslo Accords that went badly. It was the 2000 Camp David Accords. Yeah. I don't remember who the Israeli PM was at that point in time, but basically what happened was that PM, met with Yasser Arafat during I listened to a whole interview on the Ezra Klein show with Aaron Miller, who was one of the U.S. diplomats who was kind of overseeing and facilitating this whole process of moving towards a two-state solution. And the Israeli PM offered Yasser Arafat a absolute just dog shit deal, one that Arafat didn't even have the authority to work with, really. One that wasn't a real two-state solution. It was just better than, the status quo, but it wasn't a real two-state solution. And Arafat, instead of presenting a counteroffer that was sane and grounded in reality, he walked out. Which, I guess, from a human perspective, okay, I get it. This is upsetting. The Israeli PM is just fucking beating you around, and, the Israeli PM's being a dick, right? But also Arafat walking out at that moment when things seemed so close to peace, so close to moving forward. It seems to have been a real boneheaded move to have walked out at that moment instead of presenting any sort of counteroffer or terms of what he could have accepted as an actual two-state solution. Even if the Israeli PM would have turned it down, it would have been, here is where we stand on this. This is what we will accept. Anyway, so Arafat walks out. I don't remember the next part very well, but I guess some radical right-wing Israeli politician marches through some mosque that's really important. And then Hamas kicks off the second intifada with bus bombings and stuff. And while the first intifada was, it brought Israel to the table, right? Wasn't that violent. It was throwing rocks and all of that. And, it legitimized the idea that, hey, maybe we have to work with the Palestinians. The Second Intifada completely delegitimized the Israeli left, and it made Israelis fear Palestinians, and it started to bring Israelis into believing that there could be no peace with the Palestinians, which started turning into a self-fulfilling prophecy. I guess I'll get into why I don't trust Hamas and why their shit smells later, because that's not the current debate topic. But what Israel could be doing at this very moment, honestly, could be just stopping settler violence in the West Bank, keeping settlers from stealing more olive fields, fucking up farmers, just their farms, messing up their farms, putting up trailers wherever, instead of IDF soldiers just standing by idly while settlers beat up Palestinians. IDF soldiers should be preventing settlers from being violent and, in fact, punishing the settlers, dragging them through the court system. Israel should stop settlement growth at the very least, completely halt it, if not start rolling it back to, signal an act of goodwill, an act of, hey, we're serious about this two-state solution thing. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, and it's my impression, listening to certain primary sources, that within the Israeli intelligence community, which is not Netanyahu's coalition at all, that there is a very, very strong feeling that if Israel is to have a future, Palestine must have a future. There must be a two-state solution, and that Israeli security absolutely depends on it. Israel is currently careening towards a really bad one-state solution with Palestine, where nobody will be happy and a lot more violence could occur, a lot more hatred. I
think that's a great
Israel...
point.
Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, you're good. I was just going to say, Israel needs to boot Bibi because... Well, okay, here, do you want to do your counterpoint, or should I finish my riff? It's up to you.
It wasn't exactly a counterpoint. I just wanted to agree and just add a little bit more context, because I agree that for a two-state solution to work, then there has to be some sort of show from Israel that they actually take it seriously, and that involves stopping the settler colonialism that we've got going on in the West Bank. And we are very quickly careening towards the worst possible one-state solution, which is just, pushing out the Palestinians into the Sinai Desert, annexing the West Bank. I don't know what they would do with the citizens there. And that's literally the version of the one-state solution even the majority of Israelis don't want. Whereas, on the other end, you would just, giving Palestinians full rights, equal rights that Israelis have in Israel, that's honestly all I see it would really take to get to a one-state solution where, people have their full rights. But yeah, we're running in the opposite direction.
Yeah. No, I totally see what you're saying. I guess I first want to say I think it's unlikely that Israel could push Gazans into the Sinai en masse. I don't think they could get away with it in the international community, but that's a topic worth discussing later. On the note of giving Palestinians equal rights, I agree with the sentiment, and I think that if the goal was always to just annex the West Bank and all of that, then it should have been, okay, well, we're going to become a more multicultural state. And if the goal was to remain a Jewish majority state, then Israel should have never let settlements even begin. You can have one or the other, but you can't have your cake and eat it, right? And the thing is that it just seems to me that at this point, right now, there is just too much hate between Israelis and Palestinians to not expect a ridiculous amount of violence to occur in the event of the bad one-state solution. And I think that adding Palestinians to politics, I really hate to say this because this is not in line with my morals, my ideals, how I want to see the world, but I don't think it would exactly be friendly competition in government between Israelis and Palestinians, and I think it could get violent very quickly if everyone were to be shoved in one state together without there being a period of peace. Sorry, going back to my point about what Israel could be doing.
Can you pause that real quick? I want to give Noah an opportunity to talk about how he feels about settlements. Just because you talked about it,
sure.
And
I want to go back actually to what we talked about before that, because we were on a topic and then it kind of went another direction. But I want to return to that topic because I think it's relevant.
Too, but yeah, continue.
I generally agree with almost everything you're saying. I mean, I supported Israel's full withdrawal from Gaza in 2005. I supported an identical policy in the West Bank. But regardless, I'm not convinced. Maybe I misunderstood your point, but I'm not convinced that Israel with Prime Minister Rabin showed up to the Oslo Accords like in bad faith. I mean, they were willing to offer Gaza and the West Bank to the Palestinians as their state, and
I don't really want to talk about the Oslo Accords because it could be a debate topic on its own. But I will say that the one immediate reason that I think you're wrong there is because you can even look in the Oslo documents and it doesn't ever say Palestinian state. You know, like it takes so long for the idea that Palestinians can deserve the right to self-determination that the Oslo Accords were never a serious solution. You know, they were insulting then, and it's insulting to try to model peace after them now. Because, you know, came out, people said that they weren't going to work. And they didn't. And it was obvious why they didn't. And I just don't think that arguing for a two-state solution in bad faith is going to get people anywhere. You know, not when the land wasn't divided evenly. Not when, you know, like, the Israeli side got the most fertile of the lands. Like, it was never a fair solution. And I don't think that should be what we look towards, or what Israel should look towards as their newest attempt.
So Oliver, say what you were going to say before I cut you off very rudely, and then we got to do outros and move to the next topic.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to finish by saying the other thing that Israel should be doing to work towards peace in the long run, and obviously we're not talking about the, not even beginning to speak about the current, duration of the conflict. But yeah, in the long run, I think that Israel should have never been funding Hamas. Bibi's predecessor never funded Hamas. He only ever gave money to the PA. He knew what that would lead to. I think there's been a clear policy of Bibi and his cronies, Smotrich, Ben-Gvir, etc., all taking money away from the PA. I think it didn't Smotrich basically block the PA's funding? The point being that this coalition, it seems, just pigeonholed Israel's legitimate partner in peace into being security subcontractors, while funding Hamas, letting Hamas harass the more left-wing and moderate Israelis in Western Israel so that they remained compliant, such that the coalition of radical settlers and religious people, etc. I mean, sorry, I don't want to use that word as a bad thing, but radical right-wing people would keep Bibi and his people in power. If that's not the most two-faced, way of, you fund Hamas, you take away power from the PA, you pigeonhole the PA, and then you say, hey, look, we have no partner in peace. See, there's no way to solve this. Oh my God, what are we to do other than keep stealing land? And it blew up in his face. It totally blew up in his face. And I think that kind of bad faith policy is exactly the opposite of what Israel should be doing towards a two-state solution. But we're here now. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you guys mind if I use the restroom?
Yeah, so then he's going to do the last outro. So.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay, so who wants to do the first outro?
Wait, wasn't that the first outro? I thought that was the outro.
I can kind of probably be the first outro. I'll ask him if he has anything else to say, but
Okay.
yeah, you go, and then Olivia will go, and then we'll see if he wants to say anything else.
Olivia, you want to go or should I go?
You can go.
Okay, I'll just make two main points. One, I mean, my view of the Oslo Accords is that if they didn't, I think they should have, but my understanding is that they were offering a Palestinian state that comprised of the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. I think that should be the peace plan. I mean, if we want to go back to the original partition plan, that could be a potential peace plan that Israel could push as its way to move towards peace. I think there needs to be a two-state solution. Any form of one-state solution, whether it's Israeli-dominated or Palestinian-dominated, is absolutely wrong. That's my first point. My second point, I completely disagree with Oliver's description of Israel funding Hamas. That's just never happened. Before Hamas came to power in that main election in Gaza, Israel directly funded the PA's candidate, Barghouti, and they, even though he was in prison, they let him be interviewed. They did everything they could to improve the public view of himself. They were not supporting Hamas. Hamas still came to power, and then Israel did allow Gazans to work within Israel, make more money, and they did not block Hamas from bringing in funds from other Arab nations. And I guess that's what is called Israel funding Hamas. But they were in power and they were allowing Gazans to build their economy. I don't see that as funding Hamas. They tried to prevent Hamas from coming to power, but they still did.
Okay. Olivia.
I only caught the last part of that, but I already have a response. True.
It's you have a 2-minute outro to respond.
We can't hear you, Davin.
Oliver, you'll have a 2-minute outro to respond. Olivia, go.
Olivia, go now. Okay. All right. Well, since this is closing out the topic, how should Israel resolve the conflict? I do think that the Israeli government is a rogue entity that does not represent the Israeli citizens, and so I completely agree with overthrowing Bibi. I think he needs to go. I think his cronies need to go. They're toxic for Israeli citizens. I do think that they need to stop using Hamas as an excuse, especially because, there was tension and there was Palestinians dying way before Hamas even existed. So maybe Hamas is making things worse, but it's obviously not the catalyst and it should not be the focal point. I think the only way this works long term, like truly long term, is a one-state solution. I think two-state solutions mean well, but I don't think history has shown us that they worked. Most immediate example that comes to my mind is India and Pakistan, to a lesser degree North and South Korea, even though the context there is slightly different. But I think that refocusing on the actual aggressor in the conflict goes a long way in stopping the conflict. And I don't think that if Hamas disappeared tomorrow, Israel would cease the war crimes that they have been doing. I think they would just go back to being a little bit more secretive about it. I just want to close out by saying, like I said, I've been following this for a lot longer than October 7th, and so this is not the first time that these terrible images are coming across my screen, and this is not the first time hard evidence of this has come up. And so I just find it really hard to blame this on a Hamas attack when I've always seen images of Palestinians dying, and I've watched their dehumanization, and we're just rapidly going to a point where we can't come back from.
Oliver.
Yeah. Well, I guess, sorry, no, I only caught part of your outro, but the thing that you said where BB wasn't funding Hamas, there is a whole story that you can look up on literally money, like cash in suitcases in the back of cars going to Hamas. So yeah, just look it up. It's a thing. Also, yeah, the international community, lots of unaudited humanitarian aid and, you know, help from Iran that wasn't even, you know, obfuscated in terms of what it was for. It was just, yeah, here's money for weapons. So, all right, sorry, that's all I'm going to say on that part. On some level, I think I agree with Olivia that refocusing this back on, you know, what can Israel do unilaterally towards peace? Israel holds the cards. Whatever Israel does is what will. That's the direction that things will likely go. I don't think it's fair to completely take the focus away from Hamas, but I don't think it's fair to put the entire focus on Hamas either in this. And in the long run, I mean, in this particular iteration of the conflict, I'm not going to lie, I've been a little bit more focused on Hamas, but in the long run, in the long game of the conflict, I too have been following this for a decent amount of time, and yeah, it kind of always seemed like the ball was in Israel's court, or at least has been for a minute. You know, the wars with the other major Arab states, they've ended. None of them really want the heat. Sorry to speak so plainly, but you know, I don't think Israel's existence is any longer at risk the way that it once was. So I don't think it's fair to Palestinians to keep treating Israel like a victim indefinitely. There's this really funny trend where, you know, the older generations of Americans remember a day where Israel was just this, you know, neonate state that was kind of fighting for its life. And I think there was kind of a seed of an idea that Israel could do no wrong. And as Israel has gained more power and in many ways, other than human rights ways, become a first world nation, I think we've all kind of just forgotten about the Palestinians. And like, yeah, no, like they still need a state. And Israel absolutely can do wrong. And it has been doing wrong, at least for a minute. So, yeah, I'm interested in discussing how we can fix this. Sorry, I'm just rambling at this point. I guess that's all I have to say.
All right. So that was what do we think Israel can do better? Now